Hey, y'all. What's up? What's up? What's up? This is Coach Paul. God has qualified me, and I'm bringing to y'all another one of these Move Monday episodes. And as usual, before we start the content, I got to make sure that I say what I always say. I want you all to get this in here so that you can incorporate this into your lives. And that is, if you don't move it, it's going to move you. That, my friends, is the 100% promise. All right. All right. Let's get off into what I'm going to be talking about today. First, let me take a sip of this water. All right. I want you all, I'm going to be talking about a personal milestone that I reached, and that is past Saturday on May 3rd, I celebrated 10 years of recovery. And I first want to say a shout out, right, to the people who supported me and the people who didn't support me. Thank you all so much. And I'm not being sarcastic at all. I mean it. Thank you all so much, because what you all did, supporters and non, what you all did, it said something, it meant something, it did something. No hard feelings against anybody. I appreciate everybody. You all, every last one of y'all, in some way, helped me to be able to get here to these 10 years. And so I just want to say thank you so much. The other thing is, when I talk about, when the word recovery is used, a lot of people who haven't had issues with any type of drugs or alcohol don't feel like they can relate to it because, when that word is used, it's usually attached to that. Well, I'm here to tell you all that recovery is about so much more than not using drugs or alcohol. Let me give you let me make sure that I clarify that for you. Now, alcohol or drugs or whatever that thing, watch this, because many of us out there, you may not have ever had issues with drugs or alcohol, but you have practiced or are practicing right now some things in your life that are super unhealthy for you. And you need to deal with, and watch this, and you continuously, knowing that it's unhealthy, you're still indulging in it. You still have it around you. You still have them around you. You still going around them. Whatever the case may be. And the reason why you are still doing that, indulging in that, active in that, is because you haven't dealt with why you're doing that. And that was significant for me, because over the 30 years that I was doing this unhealthy stuff in my life, many of those years I didn't want to do that. Many of those years I wanted to stop and stay stopped. Many of those years I hated that, because I hated what my life always resulted in after I did it or while I was doing it. I just couldn't stay stopped. And it wasn't until 2015 when I started my recovery journey that the person who helped start this journey for me and with me told me that we are going to deal with why, which was 90% of the issue. And many of you all out there, I want you to understand the reason why you keep doing that is because you won't move and deal with the 90%, which is why you keep doing that. Now, that's how I want you to know that you can relate to what it is that I'm talking about, that you need recovery as well. It may not be from drugs or alcohol, but you need recovery from that, or the why you continue to do that. Now, that's what happened to my life over these 10 years that I've been in recovery. I dealt with why. And part of the why I kept doing the unhealthy thing was because I was super unhealthy on the inside from childhood and didn't know it. Now, we weren't abused in my mother's household. Nobody touched us. None of that kind of stuff. It wasn't any crazy stuff going on in my mother's household where child protective services was an option or a thought. None of that ever went on in my mother's house with her children. However, there was some other stuff that went on that caused me to have some hurt and some pain that I didn't know that I had, some loneliness that I didn't know that I had, some low self-esteem that I didn't know that I had, some low self-worth that I didn't know that I had, some low self-value that I didn't know that I had, some depression that I didn't know that I had. The list goes on and on and on. I didn't know I had those things, but I do know, here's one thing that I did know, that I didn't want to be alone. And I was. And so my first remembrance of an unhealthy practice, right? That got my first remembrance of starting at 10% was when at the age of 10, when I bought those first 2 joints and went and bought me some friends with those 2 joints. Why did I feel, here's the why. Why did I feel like I needed to buy friends with something that was unhealthy for all of us? We were all, 3 of us was 10, because it was 3 of us that was born the same year, and the 4th one, he was maybe a year or 2 older than us. So 12, max, 12 years old. Why did I feel like that was my only option? This unhealthy thing was my only option. It was because I was lonely. I wanted to be a part of somebody. I wanted to be a part of something, because that was what my brothers had friends. My little sister had friends. I had none, and I wanted some. And so my why for that at the age of 10 was because I was lonely, and I didn't feel like I was enough. Some of y'all out there can relate to that. And so over these 10 years, right, I started moving that thought process of feeling like I had to buy friends and feeling like I wasn't enough. Over these 10 years, I started to move that thought process. And so what that meant for me is, watch this, part of my recovery, it meant for me to be careful about, because I still dealt, even over these 10 years, let me say this, I still dealt with making sure that I wasn't alone, but in a healthy way. How do I mean that? Because I did bring new people into my life, but I'm careful about the people that I have, and I don't buy anybody. Watch this. And if you want to go, you can go. If you want to leave out of my life, I'm at that place. I'm at a place, and again, it's because I dealt with the why. I dealt with that loneliness and not wanting to be alone. I dealt with all that in a healthy way. That's one of the reasons why I don't get high today. That's one of the reasons why I haven't gotten high in 10 years, is because I dealt with that, dealt with and healed that. And so again, I'm at a place where I'm careful about the people that I have in my life, and the people that's in my life, that's in my closest circle, are people who we can add value to one another. People who we are assisting one another to level up in life. Those are the type of people that I have in my inner circle. I heard somebody say it like this: if you're an eagle, you can't hang with chickens. Doesn't mean anything bad about the chickens. It just means that they're not eagles. And it just means that you are not a chicken. And watch this, the unhealthy thing that I was doing I was an eagle hanging with chickens for many years and wonder why I couldn't fly. Some of you all out there, again, you might not have ever had any issues with drugs or alcohol, but you hanging with chickens and wondering why you can't fly. And the reason why you can't fly is because you won't move those people out of your life. Again, doesn't mean anything bad about those people. Don't make those people wrong. What it's just saying is that we aren't going in the same direction, so we have to depart. And until you move that, don't expect to fly. One of the reasons why I'm here celebrating 10 years of recovery and healing or recovery through healing is because that's one of the first things that I did. I remember going into treatment in 2015, starting this journey. Before I went into the treatment center, I changed my phone number, right? And I deleted all of the telephone numbers. Here, I'm dealing with the why. I'm dealing with the why. Why I kept going around these people is because they still had access to me. Why I kept going to these places is because it still had access to me. Why I kept doing these things is because it still had access to me. I hadn't moved nor any of that. But in 2015, before I went into treatment on May 5th, I changed my telephone number and I deleted every one of the telephone numbers out of my telephone that was attached to the old lifestyle that I was living. Who are some of the people, or who are the people that you need to delete? Who are the people that needs to not know your phone number or have access to your telephone number any longer? Who are the people that needs to not have access to you any longer? It's unhealthy. And if you don't deal with why these people got your phone number, or why you going around these people and they have access to you, if you don't deal with why you can leave as much as you want, you'll end up back eventually. Unfortunately, how do I know? Been there, done it. So that was one of the first things that helped me along this journey to get to my 10 years. Here's the second thing. The places that I was going to. You know, I hate this statement that I hear lots of black people, because many of us ain't never even been to Africa. So let me get that straight. I hate this statement. That's all that I know. That's what I hear people say that so much. And that's just one of the most defeatist statements that I ever heard in my entire life. And some of us black people, minorities, die by that word, by that phrase. And so I had to get out of what I knew, or watch this, because one of the reasons why I kept going to the same places is because I felt like I felt like I wasn't enough. I wasn't good enough to go anywhere else. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna repeat that. One of the reasons why I kept going to some of these places is because my why was because I didn't feel like I was good enough to go anywhere else. It wasn't that I didn't know anything else. It was that I didn't feel like I was good enough to be anywhere else. What I had to do was move that. I had to heal from that. I had to recover from that. And so one of the first things that I did in 2015 was when I was coming out of the residential treatment, I connected myself with a bunch of different places that was far away from the places that I used to go. Far away from the places that I used to go. And I didn't know anybody in any of those places. I didn't know anybody in any of those places. And some of you are gonna have to take the be brave. take the courage and step out, right? Go to some new places so that you can meet some new people who's doing some of the things. Oh, let me make sure I clarify that. The places that I picked to go, I knew the people in the places that I picked to go was doing what I wanted to do with my life. Let me make sure that I make that clear. The places that I was going, I knew that the people that was in those places was doing with their lives what I wanted to do with mine. And you have to make sure that that's the same thing. Again, I had to move some stuff. And so I started hanging in these places. I met new people, right? And one of the things that amazed me about being in those places with those new people, those people were falling over themselves to help and support me. They were running to help and support me and help to build me up, right? Obviously, I was doing the same thing with them, but it was amazing. It amazed me because I had not been around a group of people in my life that everybody was trying to help, and they didn't have an agenda. They wasn't here's what some of those people told me how I could repay them. They said, you can repay me by staying in recovery. That's the only payment I'm asking. If you want to pay me back, stay in recovery. That, because, and the reason why that's significant is because a lot of times we're with people, right, in places that, and they're bringing us to places because they have an agenda, and the agenda is usually, I'm doing this because you're gonna give me something back, and it's gonna cost you more than what I'm giving you. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. So I want you to understand again that recovery is about so much more than not using. Back to what I said, what I'm giving you, the repayment is going to cost you a whole lot more than what I gave. And here's the crazy part about it. We often know that, and we still go to it. Something needs to move. And how do I know? I used to do that. And so I moved that out of my way as well. So I healed from a place of, because I said it once before in one of my episodes. I remember a guy saying he stayed in a relationship because he didn't want to be alone, only to realize that he was alone anyway while he was in a relationship. I had to heal that because that was me. I had to heal from that because that was me. I got to a place where it was like, you know what? I'd rather be by myself. Because again, I had some goals. I had a 10-year goal. And my 10-year goal started with a day at a time, just making sure I did what I needed to do so that I wouldn't think in my mind that it was okay to go back to this unhealthy situation or unhealthy places or unhealthy things that I was so used to going back to. That was always my go-to. It was always my comfort zone. It was always my safe place. It was always my answer. And then I wonder again, like I said, and I always found myself after all hell and broke loose saying, how did I get here again? It was because I didn't move to a place of dealing with why. And in changing the people that I was, again, the people that I'm letting in my circle or the circles that I'm going in changing the places that I was going and the places that, the places that I'm going, the places that I'm coming, whatever. In changing all of that, it helped me to get to where I am today. And the other thing that I had to do, I had to change the things that I was doing. I had to do some new stuff. Some of y'all out there, again, like I said, you might have never had issues with alcohol or drugs, but you need recovery because you're doing some things that is unhealthy. You know it. You know they're unhealthy. They've been unhealthy year after year after year after year, and you still indulging in them. It's because you haven't dealt with why you're doing it. And that's that's another, I started doing new things, healthy things, going to healthy places, dealing with healthy people. And don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. This 10 years wasn't perfect. It wasn't a smooth road. I made some unhealthy choices, but realized them right out the gate. Oh yeah, this ain't cool. Let me, because one of the things that I said, no matter what, I don't want to ever put another drug or cigarette in my body. In 10 years, that's been a reality for me. No matter what. So what am I saying? You got to have some new practices. You got to move some stuff out of the way so that you can get into some new healthy practices, healthy places, doing some healthy things with some healthy people. I say it like this: when you change your mind, you will change your life. How do I know? This is what has happened to me. This is what helped me to get to this 10 years. Again, not just not using heroin and smoking cigarettes, but living a life of recovery. Because one of the things I want you all to understand is that on the inside, I'm healthy. On the inside, I'm healed. On the inside, I'm okay. On the inside, I'm enough. 100%. On the inside, I ain't no better than you, and you aren't any better than me. On the inside, I'm convinced that I'm not going to build any unhealthy relationships. On the inside, I'm convinced that I'm not going to go around any unhealthy places. On the inside, I'm convinced that I'm not going to start practicing some unhealthy things. I remember when I was 6 or 7, I think it was 7 years into this journey. Because I used to go back to where it all began for me, which is in Minnesota. And, 7 years in, it was 7 years. I'm okay. I'm in an okay place. Let me just kind of, go back and just look at some of the communities that I used to be in when I was in that hellhole. Let me just drive through and keep it moving. I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I drove, and the craziest thing happened to me. I'm not a person who is overcome with anxiety, but anxiety went nuts on me when I drove into those communities. I got scared, all kind of stuff. I wasn't scared that I was going to get high because I know I'm not going to do that. But it was just something in me that said, it was something that was so stirred up in me saying, you're not supposed to be over here. Get out of here. And I did exactly that. The minute I got away from that community, anxiety went away. So I know, what am I saying? I know, and I embrace the fact, I accept the fact that some places I just can't go. And I'm not going ever again. That's just the way it is. I'm moving that thought process. I'm moving that thing out the way. And then watch this, the places that I go, I love the places that I go now. I'm having the best fun and the best time of my life these 10 years that I've been in recovery. And so I'm saying this, I'm doing all this, and I'm saying this again because I want you all to understand that just because you haven't had issues with drugs or alcohol, it doesn't mean that you don't need recovery. Because if you are continuing to practice something in your life, be with people in your life, do things in your life, go places in your life, and you continuously do this or indulge in that, and you know it's unhealthy, you need recovery. I don't care if it ain't drugs or alcohol. And so deal with why and move all of the stuff out of the way so that you can get to the healthy people, the healthy places, and do the healthy things that's going to help you live like every time it says, make the rest of your life the best of your life. because that's exactly what's happening to mine. And like I said, you all, I'm so grateful for these 10 years. I had a goal to get to 10 years. I got to this 10 years. Now I'm setting another 10-year goal. And watch this. I'll be 68 years old in 10 years. And by the time I'm 68, I want you all to hear what I'm about to say. I'm going to be the healthiest that I've ever been in my entire life. And that's healthiest spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, relationally, from a social standpoint, from a community standpoint, from an occupational standpoint, in every aspect of my life. I'm going to be the healthiest that I've ever been. And y'all heard me say this first. And so if you all want to go on this journey with me, let's go. But you got to be an eagle, because I don't hang with chickens. I eat chickens. If you want to hang with me, I'm more than willing to bring you alongside of me, because that's what Maximum You Coaching is about. That's what Kick Your Butt Out is about. That's what Move I Have Greatness to Do is about. It's about each one reaching one. How can we help one another to get to these next levels? Because they're available for us and we still alive. So let's go, y'all. Let's go. Thank you all so much. Again, for everybody who's been supporting this podcast, been listening to it, been sharing it, have subscribed, been liking it. You can do it too. Whatever it is that you're struggling with. Because like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be drugs and alcohol that you indulging in that's unhealthy. Whatever that is, let's help each other move that thing out of the way. Deal with that why. Move that thing out of the way. Move those people out of the way. Move those places out of the way. Move those things out of the way. Move those ideas out of the way so that you and I can walk in our greatness together and individually. So with that being said, I think I've said enough. Until next time, y'all be well. Do the next right thing. God bless you all. I love y'all. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And if you're looking for a butt, it's going to always be easy to find one. That, my friends, is a promise. Deuces.